Hi, gorgeous loves. I wanted to come on today and talk about the importance and potency of doing the inner work to access and really illuminate your own authentic inner truth. So within the inner work, there's external things that you have to move through in order to drop inside, right? And a lot of those external things we have been taught or imprinted is how we measure our own self, our relationship with ourself, our value, our worth, how we walk through the world, how the world sees us, how we respond so many ways, right? And this is so valid. We have our experiences, right? That add up, that build upon how it is that we're experiencing the world. And so the importance of coming in, dropping into that place which is inside, I often refer it to like a tornado in the eye of the storm, right? Because all of those things can feel really rocky, can feel shaky, it's not stable. We're measuring ourselves against something in the external that we've been taught and imprinted over and over by whether friends, family, societies, different things, that this is what it should look like. This is what it should be. However, each person within the whole collective has such a unique medicine, such a unique frequency that can only be transmitted and flow through that person in the here and now. And that's such a gift that is waiting to be unraveled, waiting to be lived first and foremost by yourself, right? And so I want to talk about within these different experiences that we have an innate survival mechanism, which is our subconscious. So everything that we experience, every thing through the life that we're going, every sensory input, whatever's coming in, it enters into our subconscious. And our subconscious is like a sponge. So it receives in stuff and it can't differentiate between what is really true for the self or what might not be resonant. So it just kind of creates these layers. So it's the sponge. And then within that, it creates survival and coping mechanisms in order to survive and cope, right? Through these experiences. And so that's something beautiful, right? It's innate, it's supposed to be there. We don't even have to think about it. It's automatic. So it's brilliant, it's beautiful, and in these moments it's necessary, right? The only thing is oftentimes that it's wonderful, like it's necessary in those moments, but then often later on it starts to create blockages. So neuroscience has found that 95% of our lives are run by our subconscious. So that means everything we think, see, feel, all those coping patterns and survival mechanisms that are in there, our 5% consciousness be like, I want to change this or I want to do that. And the 95% subconscious is saying, oh no, I'm saving your, like, I'm protecting us. Like, this is why this is going down. We're going to feel this way, whether we're going to shut down or we're going to fucking go wild or whatever. However the response is, it's so individual to each person, right? But it's like, it kind of, it fights against each other and it's not a fair fight. And so when the importance of doing the inner work is really, it's that aspect of being able to honor those places. It's not about just having to push past and jump inside and get into that Zen place. It's really about the honoring of these experiences, the honoring of these external places that you've had, that you've been in, that you've experienced, all the different coping, all the different survival, what it took, honoring these places, but in a whole new way. Because what's happening is when we're in survival mode, when we're just trying to get by, when we're just coping, there's nothing else. We're not thinking about it. And when we're in survival mode, it's like, think about it, running from a tiger, everything comes second. So digestion, anything, that's all out the window, right? It's survival. So doing the inner work, what gets to happen is you get to create the space for yourself, for these places, for these aspects of the self, where it's almost like the little bits of the spirit that maybe were shut down, that maybe left the body, that it was too much, that it was too painful. And when you create that space for that aspect of yourself, what you're doing is you're creating the space in the room to say, hey, this lens that you've been seeing, that you've been experiencing, which is so valid, is not the only way, right? Because when we're not doing the inner work, when we're not creating this space for ourselves as growing, evolving beings, which is what we are, we're pushing against the flow, we're pushing, and we're actually operating on a kind of an energy, on a circuitry that is like, it's old, it's a lot of times not healthy anymore, it's frustrating, it blocks the life. And where the discomfort is, where the unfamiliarity is, this is where the life is trying to break through you. And so through creating that space, through creating the space to say, hey, this aspect of myself that maybe I've judged, that maybe when it comes up, it feels scary to look at, or I've been like, I try to push it aside. No, that's not the truth. I need to just look and get past it. When we don't give that place the space, the room, the honoring, then it's all it can see is through the lens of what it has experienced. And most of the time that's through the lens of others. It's our experience of, ooh, I'm having this experience and I feel this way, but it's responding to the world around me and what's happening. And where that is valid, where there is such learning in that, there's also, we get to keep learning. We get to keep growing and evolving and learning more about ourselves. We get to keep expanding and growing. And so creating the space to say, hey, this aspect of myself that maybe didn't get the time, that maybe wasn't able to be expressed, that wasn't able to be seen, that was made to feel a certain way, to create the space, to say, I see you, I'm here, I'm creating the safe space. Maybe it wasn't safe then, but I'm here to create the space for you now. And again, sometimes this is scary, right? Because it's like that tornado. It's like, oh my gosh. A lot of times it's like, but what if that's true? What if I'm not worthy? What if I'm not lovable? What if I'm not good enough? What, right? All those things. But the potency and the beauty is that through that nurturance and through creating the space, through that inner work, that's where it starts to be able to move. This is where that veil and the lens from which it's been operating from and existing on gets to start to dismantle, because it hasn't been given the space before, right? It's just like still moving on that current, and it's old and it's hard and it's restricting. And we are, again, we're rhythmic. We are meant to be just as the earth and the seasons and the variety. And you think about it, it's like, yes, there's cycles, but it doesn't, it's like doing the inner work is what changes a cycle from a vicious cycle into a sacred spiral. Because we're always going to be looking at things, we're always going to be revisiting. So when something comes up, it's not like, oh, I thought I dealt with that, why is this shit coming up again? It's that we do what we can in the moment to heal it as much, and then when it comes back around, when you do the inner work, that is what opens up more illumination. Oh, I get to go deeper. I get to learn and get to know myself in a deeper way. And that is so fucking powerful. It's so potent. So just sometimes that's even just like being gentle. Oh, I'm allowing the space to just bring in a little gentleness for myself, or maybe I've been judging myself. So just notice where you can start bringing in a little space, a little more love, a little more gentleness in your life. And I promise it is so worth it.